it is the Congress that settles the presidential race, and it's the Senate that settles the vice president race. And if we would have lived by the 12th, we could have had a Trump-Harris or a Biden-Pence presidency, because the vice president isn't the one that he's anyway. Please read that. And then in the 24th, there's a lot in the 24th. I'll be done with this. In the 24th, it says the right of citizens to vote in any primary. That means primaries, open primaries is the law of the land. And then it says for president, it says the right of citizens to vote in any primary or other election for president, vice president, electors of president and vice president, Congress and Senate. And then but here's what it says, and there's a lot in this. The 24th, it says the right of citizens to vote in any primary shall not be denied or abridged. Denied means complete denial rights of your rights. Abridged means partial rights, but shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any other state for a poll tax, meaning you don't have to pay money to vote, or any other tax, which means like you got to be a member of either one of the two major parties, or you got to have teeth, hair, and a job in order to vote. None of that. There is no conditions to you being able to vote. And on the Electoral College, if you go to a site called ballotpedia.org and type in Electoral College, and you can name your state because all the states are on there. And you can see who the Electoral College members are, and they're basically either politicians or really active people in their party that gets appointed by their states to politicians. And that's why I'm saying the system we have does not match anything that is written in the Constitution. I'm going to listen to your show tonight, and next Monday I'll be there listening again if you guys want to get into this, okay?
Nathan, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the show and talk to the American people. Have a safe night tonight. God bless you and your family, and we look forward to having you on next Monday. Take care.
God bless you, brother.
Sir. Yes, thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Good stuff, man.
Okay.
Good stuff.
It's awesome stuff. Since we got Steve back on, Steve, I'll let you. We have about 20 more minutes left in the show. For those that are listening, this is American First Patriot Podcast. I'm joined with my co-host, veteran and patriot, Jarrod Tomassi. I'm your host, Chauncey Brown. And we have in the studio Steve, who's a candidate for sheriff, who is talking to us about our liberties and freedoms and how our rights have been denied by the government throughout our country. Steve, thank you so much. You've been giving us a ton of information. I really appreciate what you shared, and I look forward to you sharing more until we close out the segment of the show. And also, I have another podcast called The CHAUNCEY Show, where I only interview candidates that are running for office across the country. And I would love to have you on. I will connect with Jarrod to get your information so I can set up a date and have you on The CHAUNCEY Show as well, okay?
That'd be great.
Awesome.
Well,
when is your election? When is your election before I forget?
Well, actually, I have to win the primary, which is in May. So,
okay.
Once I win the primary, nobody else is running. So when you win the primary, you basically win the race.
Okay. The reason why I asked you, and I apologize that I interrupted you, I'm booked up until the beginning of May for the Chauncey Show. So what we'll do is we're going to have you back on American First Patriot Podcast just as a candidate, talking about your county and the issues that you're facing and the policies that you want to debunk or the policies that you want to institute when you become a sheriff. So I'll work that out with Jarrod, and we'll have you on this show within the next several weeks. Because that's why I asked you the date, because I'm already booked up until the whole first week of May. So we'll have you back on in a couple of weeks on American First Podcast, and we will bill it out to the public that you're going to be on. So we will work on that. And thank you for your courage, for standing up against the government. I too was a former fire captain, a government employee. And, yeah, I understand how the government works, and I'm glad that you mentioned mandates are not laws, and chief executives of any state or municipality only has the power over their employees. They don't have the power over the citizenry. And see, that's what people get all flustered. And in addition, we live in a free society. Nobody can make me wear a mask. Nobody can make me take a jab. I live in a free society. It is my choice what I want to do with my body, not the government. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, like I said, I mean, the whole point of the Constitution is to limit the power of the government, not increase it, to limit it, right? And you have a right to pursue, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, you have a right to pursue your own happiness. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, or that they're using the consensus process to make you seem like an evil human being because you're not for socialism or whatever agenda they happen to be pushing this week or next week. You have a right to do what makes you happy. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Doesn't matter what the government thinks. And then the government also has the responsibility to, and again, you're protected from government abuse. So this, you didn't take the jab, so you're killing everyone, across the country. You're supposed to be protected from those types of statements and those types of accusations. And, that's, what our Constitution is based on. The government is supposed to be protecting our borders. They're not doing it, right? So you've got sheriffs, you've got local police departments on the borders doing what the federal government is supposed to be doing. So then, we send people over to the Ukraine, or we have them on standby to go in and defend the Ukraine. And one of the things that people aren't aware of is when the president of the Ukraine decided that he was going to pass out military weapons to every citizen in the country to help to defend the country, guess who the first in line were? Organized crime. Organized crime got a hold of you think I'm kidding? This is a fact.
No.
Organized crime got a hold of all the military weapons, all of the ammunition they could carry, all of the the small arms that were available. Now, do you think they went to fight the Russians? No. They went to fight the rival organized crime gangs. So now what they're doing is you've got all these firefights that are happening in the Ukraine. It's not between Ukrainians and the Russians. It's between rival gang members, and they're trying to establish their hierarchy in the country. So now you've got this criminal element that has years and years and years worth of guns and ammunition, that once this is over, how does the government think they're going to get all that stuff back?
They're going to ask nicely because everybody plays nice, buddy.
Right. Well, how they're going to get it back? One bullet at a time.
Yeah,
fired from the rifle or the handgun that they gave those people.
I was literally just.
But again, there was no vetting. There was no nothing. It was just like, come and get it. So now you've got a problem with inside of a problem, and of course, the Ukraine has historically been corrupt on a number of different levels. So why do I want? And see, this is the thing: the people that always suffer, are the women, the children, and the elderly.
Amen.
They're the ones who always suffer through war. Now, I feel
and veterans
horrible.
And veterans.
Right, but I feel horrible for the people of Ukraine. Right, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel horrible for the people who cannot defend themselves. There's right now, women are being raped, children are being raped. People who can't, young men who can't defend themselves are being sodomized. I mean, it's a horror story in a large part of the country, not being inflicted by Russia, but by Ukrainians. So,
exactly.
The news isn't going to tell you that, right? So I feel horrible for those people. But I also, my first concern is this country. My first concern are our borders here in this country. My first concern are the elderly in this country. My first concern are the children and the women and the shut-ins and the people who can't defend themselves in this country. Once we get this squared away, maybe we can go out and help other people. But right now, we are an absolute disaster. We're on the verge of bankruptcy. We're putting small businesses out of business. We're making these multinational corporations richer, and we're denying our citizens their constitutional rights. This needs to be fixed first. So all these people on Facebook and stuff who have the little Ukrainian flag, I'm with you, the Ukraine. How about changing that? I'm with the United States. I want the United
Amen.
States fixed now.
Exactly, Steve. I don't mean to interject.
I'm with the United. I'm a citizen. I'm a patriot.
Steve.
And I feel bad for the Ukraine.
Yeah, and so do I. I feel bad for the people. I feel bad for the soldiers. I don't feel bad for the government. The problem that we're having, and we're talking about, because even in America, people don't understand their rights and freedoms under the Constitution. When you take that out of our public school system, you have people like AOC who have no clue about government running for Congress. When our public school system has abandoned statesmanship, civil responsibility, American history, that's how they're undermining the Constitution, because we're not learning that in our educational system. So we have a whole bunch of sheep that the government says go this direction, they go because they have not been educated on the United States Constitution and the role it plays to protect the people. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, let me hop in here. That irritates me to no end is, first of all, the government is not the politicians in Washington. We are the government, right?
Thank you.
It's our country. It's our land. Nothing ticks me off more when people go, oh, that's government land. No, it isn't. It's mine. It's yours. If you're a U.S. citizen and you pay taxes, that is your land. That is not government. There is no government. You are the government. There are politicians in Washington, D.C., and we elect them to vote and represent us in D.C., represent our values. And if they're not doing it, then they need to be replaced and removed. They're not our bosses. We're their boss. So when I see these politicians get on television, appear in person, and they try to lord over the people in their district, I mean, I just want to bomb it. I'm like, look, jackass, you work for us. We don't work for you, and how dare you act like you're in charge of your district. They are in charge of you. You work for them. And so I get so sick and tired, and even as a chief of police, as an elected sheriff, my job is to work for the people in my jurisdiction, to protect their constitutional rights, to stop the government from overreaching and affecting them in any negative way. I mean, it's like the first line of defense. So I'm sickened when I see 30 New York policemen go into a restaurant and harass a family of 3 for not wearing an effing mask. I mean, to me, if I was chief of police, I might get fired by the mayor. I'd fire every damn one of them. And I'd say, you will not ever, the kid is bawling. People are scared to death. It's like the Nazis going in, the brown shirts going in to take beat everybody up who isn't supporting Hitler. And that's the way it comes off. So if you're a police officer and you think it's okay to violate somebody's constitutional rights or terrorize a small child because he's not wearing a mask, you're in the wrong occupation. You need to be terminated, and you need to be, you should never be allowed to wear a badge or carry a gun or have anything to do with enforcing the law.
Hey, Steve.
I'd get fired before I'd do something like that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jarrod, go ahead. There's a delay.
You guys.
Here we go, Giggles. I'm going to start calling you Giggles, Jarrod.
I was just going to say, man, once you get elected, Steve, I think I'm going to move my family